Hello, it's Wendy again. Today I've got some really fun things in mind, and first I'm going to do an unboxing because I received a gift in the mail last week, and I did take it out of its packaging because when it came I was like, did I order? Do you ever do that? I mean, I order things and I go, what the heck did I order? This one I did not recognize at all. I wasn't expecting anything. So I opened it, and what it is a sealing wax set, and it was a gift from my daughter, so I thought I would share this, what all came with it. So one of the first things is I opened this package, which is full of envelopes of all colors, very shiny, and they're almost plasticized paper. I'm not really sure why you would choose that, but I think they're gorgeous. So there's, what color is that? Gunmetal gray, gold, pearl, this rusty red, another gold, another red, black, silver, sort of a peachy pink, and black. So I'm sure I will think of lots of things to do with those. And then we have a little burner, so you put a little tea light candle in here and put the spoon on this so that, and put the wax in there. And we're going to try this a little bit later. And that's where the wax melts. And then, and this is the handle for the stamp. Let's see, let's get in here. So this just screws on here, and this one is a little tree. Can you see that? Sort of the tree of life design. Plus we've got a silver, that's pretty, for highlighting, and also gold. Oh, that's nice and metallic as well. And then there's our wax pieces. Let's see how you get into this. Here we go. Okay, it opens like this. Just move the box. Wow, look at all the colors. And some of them are iridescent. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Wow, about half of them are iridescent. Well, maybe more than half. And then there's the solid colors like the blue, this bright pink, this light pink, sort of a clear, this green. So I can't wait to start using them. Now, I also got with this package, it was in the same shipping bag. Let's just put that back together. A lovely little box, which is this one, with a tie on it. And another set of stamps. So I happened to get twice on the tree, but that was probably not easy to avoid. This one is a bee. I love that. A circlet of olive leaves. Looks like ancient Rome. Something Caesar Augustus might have worn on his head. Beautiful heart. Look at the filigree in that. And a rose, and a crown. So lots of choices. Wow, I'm really thrilled. I'm so thrilled with this gift. My birthday is actually this coming week, so it was kind of an early birthday present. And yeah, really happy, really happy, and I'm really excited to try these things. So that's one of the things that I'm going to work on today in a little while. So I'm just going to put this aside for now. Put this over here because I will need to light the candle and get that going. I won't be using the envelopes. But today what I decided to do, let me just get rid of this. Sorry about the crackling. Put that out of sight. What I decided to do is to make some small watercolor embellishments, which are super easy. Like, you don't have to know any art. All you have to know how to do is hold a pen. And so what I want to do, my plan is to do some little sort of botanical things here, and then add some watercolor, and then add some seals. We'll see how that goes. But first I wanted to show you, I did some experimenting on watercolor paper with some stamps, because I thought, well, what if you don't want to draw? What if you just want to use stamps? So this was my result, which wasn't very successful, I have to say. This one actually worked the best. And it was this ink pad, which I got from Michaels, and then I tried this one, which is a Michaels one as well, archival pigment for this one. This one the color ran a little bit, you can see, because I used a yellow here and it looks kind of, you know, grayish color. This, the ink didn't really run until it was good and wet. Like, it didn't really, like, it's like it took a minute to kind of start blurring. So it has kind of a cool effect, but it wasn't really the effect I was after. And then I tried it with a couple of other ink pads. One is this Craft Smart dye ink pad, and this was also from Michaels, so that's that one. Excuse me. And I used it, I've got this little stamping table thing, which I was having trouble working with this morning, but when I put the water on it, basically it smeared this ink anyway. And then this one, which makes a really nice stamp, is just this brand here. It's kind of an office one that I picked up, I don't know, at a dollar store or somewhere. And it makes a really nice sharp stamp, and the paper absorbed it really well, but when I put water on it, it's like meh. So it could be used as an effect if I wanted it to be sort of blurry like that. I think it is kind of cool. Like, if I cut this out, it would make a neat little piece of ephemera. But at the moment, it was not what I was after, so I just called that an experiment, because I really like to try new things. So for the moment, I haven't found a stamp ink that won't blur with water. So if you know of one, I'd like to know about it. So we'll just put those aside. Now, for this part, I think what I'm going to do is just make some tiny sketches. And you can kind of follow along. I don't know where that blue came from, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. So these are just going to be kind of little botanicals. And let's start like that. Make a few leaf shapes. As you can see, really nothing fancy at all. And then, you know, depending on how it ends up looking, a stamp would go, or a seal would go in the corner here, or we'll see. But I'll do one to start with, and then you can see kind of what I'm aiming for. I always have to move things around in my studio because just of space limitations. So I'm just going to get my watercolors out. So that we're ready to work on that when the time comes. And I need to move this over a little bit, I think. I ordered some new equipment from Amazon the other day for how to hold my camera, because I'm so crowded with my space here. I like to have my flowers show because I think they make things happier. And I'm going to simply ink this in, and I'm using a Pigma Micron 05, and this is archival ink, which means it won't smear when the water hits it, once it's good and dry. It has to be dry. So I'm going to make some just really simple things like this. Maybe put a little center in the leaves like that. You can see how simple this is. Like if you can draw a straight line that's 1/4 inch long, you can draw this. And that's about how long it takes. So I'm going to leave that to make sure it's good and dry. And then I'm going to do, what shall I do? I think I'll just do a rose. Like this. And some leaves. Rose leaves have a little jaggedy edge. I don't always get that right, but I think I'll make a little rose bud as well. It's just kind of starting to open. And this is tiny, like it's really small painting, but the drawing actually defines it. So you don't have to paint really precisely. So I'll just make another leaf down this way. And another one out here. And I think it needs a little bit of, I don't know, a little vine, a little tendril. Put a little leaf on there as well. So that's easy peasy. And now I'll go over it in the ink as well. And these are just really simple lines, just to show the general shape. Put that little curly Q, tiny little leaf on there. Sorry about that, my camera battery was exhausted, it said. Battery is exhausted. Well, I don't know about you, but I know the feeling. Anyway, we're just doing lightly the lines around the drawing. Hope you can see that. I think my hand might get in the way. There. Now what I do too is erase the pencil lines once that's done. And let's do one more. Let's make a little tree. Trees are kind of fun. And this is how you draw it. There's the trunk and the roots. You can also draw some ground around it, which gives a little bit of anchoring. And then a tree, as you know, branches. So that's a start, but then you don't need to draw every leaf and branch. You just need to make some sort of fluff like this. Because, as I said, the pen is going to define it anyway. So, I'll take the pen again, and this pen works better on this kind of a slightly rough watercolor paper. If I hold it straight up and down and press a little harder. If I want it a little bit more sketchy, then I'll just do it like this. But I think I'll stay with that. And then I'm just going to make some leafy looking shapes here, which anyone can do. think my 3-year-old grandson can probably handle these shapes. Now you can put branches showing through if you want to, but I don't think I will, because what will happen is I'll put some variations in tone in the watercolor, and then I don't need to. So the next thing I want to do is to get my kneaded eraser, like this. These are available at art stores, and they go squishy, and they actually are kind of self-cleaning, because if it's got a dirty spot, you just kind of mix it in. Another wonderful thing about them is that you can, if you want to just erase something tiny, you can make it into a little point like this. So super little unit there. Now, my table wiggles a little bit because it's an antique drafting table on 2 legs, so it has a little bit of wobble. So I try not to press on anything too hard, because I don't want to make anybody feel kind of seasick. What you don't want to feel when you're making a craft or making art is nauseated. If you don't wait till the pen dries, if you start erasing, it will streak. You have to let it get really dry. So I think that's good enough. Now, because these are tiny, and I meant them to be tiny because I want them to be just little embellishments for my junk journals. So what I'm going to do then is choose some paint, and I like this one called Yellow Green. Actually, I'm going to do something different first. I'm going to put a little bit of background color in really pale, something really pale. And what I have here is the tray where I mix my colors, which is just sits in the lid for this box. So I'm going to take some that's already on there, which is this turquoisey blue. I'm actually going to use a little bit bigger brush because I'm going to do it as a wash. And this will be a wash with edges. Let me see. I want it to be quite pale. So what I do is I keep these little scraps. This is a watercolor paper scrap. I always have scraps around so that I can test a color on it. That's a little more intense than I want, which means all you got to do is put more water in it. So I wish out my brush. I swish out my brush, and then I pick up from the same paint splotch, and that's what I'm getting. So this is more what I have in mind. So I'm just going to put a bit of a background here. I want it to be really, really quite pale, so I just added more water to my brush. And I don't mind if it has a bit of an edge. That's okay. Maybe push it out a little bit farther. And I'm going to do the same for the rose, more or less outside of it, like on the outside edge. And I'm using this creamy color called Jaune Brillant, which is French for brilliant yellow, which, you know, basically this isn't brilliant yellow. But first I'm going to wet it. I'm just going to wet around the edges here so that the paint will slide in against the dry spot, but it won't go over them. So let's make sure we're good and wet in those spots. This is plain water. And now I pick up my color, which is very little color in it. I might add just a touch of pink in there. I like that better. But even if I hadn't, you know, a little bit of variation is nice. I think I want more pink, even though I'll probably make a pink rose. We'll make it more intense. But this gives it a bit of a glow. And it just runs into that water and stops. See, it won't go into the leaves or into the rose because it can't. It's got an edge to it. But that's really pretty, I think. And in this one too, I think we'll do a little blue sky background. Now I don't need to do it. I didn't wet it or anything because there's so little area here. I'm just going to paint it on. Put a little bit of blue in there and a little bit around the outside. Whether or not that gets cut off when the time comes, we'll see. And then for the grass, I'm going to use a little bit of this sap green, which turns into kind of a nice grassy green. But I'm not going to paint this yet because it's not dry. So I don't need this brush anymore, and I will go back to my small brush. And you can tell if something's dry by just holding it against the light, because if it reflects, then it's like I can see quite easily that you can see that is wet, and bits of this is just wet too. This is not wet. The other way is if you touch it, like I wouldn't touch that because I know it's wet. This looks like it might still have some dampness in it. So if I just barely touch it with my finger, I can tell that it has. Because it's a little bit cool. So I'm not going to paint into the greenery yet because I don't want it to be just that little bit damp and have it run together, because that's not the look I'm after right now. So I'm going to just let that dry and be back. Now these are dry enough to work with, so I'm going to go back in. I'm going to do some sealing wax in a minute. So I've got my little pot working there, and I won't move it because I don't want to light a fire here. But I'm going to go back in here with this yellow green, and I think I'm going to add a little bit of sap green as well. Yeah, I'm not sure I like that, but let's see. I have a different sap green in my large palette. This one is kind of different. I'm not crazy about it, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I'm just going to quickly paint these really simply and not very precisely, because I'm just okay with that. I find that with watercolor, the less fuss you make with it, the prettier it is. So there's that little branch of whatever kind of leaf, and I'm going to use the same color, this sap green, on the tree, just like this. Mush it around, and I'm adding some yellow green because I want variation, right? And I don't mind if there's a little bit of white showing. Why not? Let me pick up some more sap green. Put a little bit in here, and now some more yellow green, like this. And I'm going to go in underneath with a little bit of hooker's green mixed with some sap green, just because, you know, it's usually a bit darker underneath. That's a little too brightish. Let me see, what other color could I use in here? I do have an olive green. I think I need the olive green, which is over here in my other palette. We'll just pop a little of that in there. That should be just fine. Put that away because I don't need it anymore. I think I do want some more yellow green in here, otherwise it's going to look kind of gray. So it's a funny tree, what can I say? Now, for the bark, I want to use a Van Dyke brown, which is quite a dark brown and is a little more realistic. Oh, I think I need to take my little wax thing off here. I'm just going to try something off camera because there's my little pot and it's starting to smoke, which I don't think is what we want. But I'm not quite ready for it. Now my daughter told me, let it cool a minute before you pour it, because if it's too hot, it's too liquid and it'll just kind of run all over the place. So I'm just going to blow on it like it's soup. Sorry for the interruption, but I'm going to try this just over to the side here while I have a moment. Okay, I'm going to let that just do its thing there because other things to think about at the moment. I haven't tried doing this all at the same time before, so we're basically learning it together, we could say. So I'm going to just add a little bit of brown here, kind of a gray brown, a little bit dark maybe. Let's just see. We're dealing with such a small amount of paint for these tiny embellishments. But the fun thing about this is, get this, once they're done, you can use them as is and have nice original watercolors in your journal, or you can scan them and use them again and again as embellishments, which I think is a wonderful plan. So I'm going to do the rose now, and I'm using this bright pink, and successively just a little bit lighter, pick up some water, dab it off on the paper towel as we go out, because roses have most of the intensity of color in the center. And then for this one, again, most intensity right there. They're usually a little more intense anyway. And I just left some white in there because I like that. Add a little bit more color a little bit farther out. Clean off my brush. Pick up some green for the leaves. Get rid of the excess water because we don't want it to be sloppy wet. And roses have quite glossy dark leaves, but I don't want them to be too dark. So I'm just going to paint them here with this sap green, which just has a tiny bit of the what you call it, yellow green in it. They mix a little bit there, a little bit there. Okay, this is all dry, so now we can work with them. And the sealing wax that I did actually worked out. This is like a first for me, and I made this little tree. Turns out that these two little tree ones that I happened to get, one came with the kit and the other came with just the, what do you call this, the stamping kit, are not quite exactly the same, but I used that pale green and I made a stamp, so I'm really thrilled with that. So what I'm going to do is put away my paints because I don't need them anymore. To just mop some things up here, otherwise I get water all over everything and paints mixing and, you know, yada yada yada. That is a word, isn't it? Look at these colors though, gorgeous, hey? Okay, this can just go over to the side. I don't need that there. And I'm going to use this for doing some stamps that aren't on the paper. Now this is just a silicone baking sheet, and I watched someone else make some of these seals and use a special silicone sheet for them, and I thought, wait a minute, I have one that will probably work just as well. And I'm right, because it peeled off just perfectly. So let's make some more seals, shall we? So I'm going to put this where we can see it. And here's my candle. So I'll just pop that there. So this is how this works. That goes there. I'll just put those there. And here are my little waxes. So what I can do with this now, it's already melting. I can put in another color here. So I wonder what color I should use with that. That would look pretty. Let's try this one. It's kind of a bronzy color. I didn't really want to stick it right smack in the middle, but there it is. And I do want something like a toothpick, I think. This'll work. This is a cuticle stick. Very handy little point. So let's just, I'm just going to move that over to one side so that as it melts it doesn't just totally mix with the green. And while I'm doing that, because I've got a tree in both of these, I don't need that. I can switch it out and put a different one in. So let's see. Oh, I like that one. Let's do this leaf circlet. That'll go with something that we've done. Now, here's another idea. I got a whole bunch of stamps the other day. I went actually to Vancouver, where I live not that close, but it's an easy day trip. Went to see my daughters. And I bought these English magazines that had all these craft things in them and tons of stamps. So what you can do if you're into stamping, and I'm just like kind of getting back into it and having so much fun with it, is if you don't want to paint, that's fine. Just use a stamp, color it with your pencil crayons, which are the colored pencils. Get yourself an array of them, and then you can color them and use the stamp next to them. Now this one is starting to smoke already, so I'll give it, I'm gathering that smoking isn't what you want, so I'm going to pour it and just see how it goes. I'll bet if I pour it from a bit of a height, it'll dry a little bit on the way down. It's so pretty with the iridescence in it. I love that. Let's wipe that off a bit, set it aside, and then let's try it with this circlet. Give it a good squish. Just let it sit there for a moment. This tree can go over here. That's a rose. I don't think I'll use that, but I do like the idea of a bee. Now what I'm going to do while this wax is still wet in this little cup is wipe it out. And I'm using the artist's friend. I think you'll probably recognize this. So I'm just going to stick that in there and give it a swirl and see if I can clean that out. That looks pretty good. You've got to be careful because it's hot. I don't want to burn my finger or anything. That makes it pretty good clean. And then I might as well get that soot off the back as well. And don't get the toilet paper into the flame, or you'll have a conflagration, which is not what any of us wants. Okay, let's see how we got this. See how easily it comes off there? It just pops off. Now I think I could have used a little bit more, put it a little bit more central. But look at the colors, how they turned out. And you could actually, here's a fun idea too, you could take a little pair of sharp scissors and cut around this if you wanted it to be close. I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but it just sort of popped into my head. So I always like to try things. If they pop into my head, it's like, hey, that might work. And as I showed you earlier, it doesn't always. So that could be used like that, and why not? It's not quite perfect, but that doesn't matter. Now this, I think you can reuse this stuff. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to throw it back in here, because another experiment, and I'm going to use this gold so I can make a bee, and it will have a little bit of variation then in it. So there's the bee. I love that bee. And as we all know, bees are really important to life on Earth as we know it, or as we used to know it before COVID came along, but still, the bees are living out there in their own subculture. And you know, the whole story of Earth is not about a virus, thank goodness. So I'm just going to push this down here a little bit, kind of get it going. I think my flame has burned down a little bit, which is not a big deal. Anyway, while I'm waiting for that to melt, I wanted to show you something else. I went and bought these trays. I found them at a dollar store. I had to look at a few of them, and I bought these trays to keep all this ephemera pieces in. I got 4 of them, and they stack, so they take up less room than pieces all over. So, and then I went to a different store and bought these ones so that I could keep the tiny ones apart from, you know, the bigger ones, because when you're working in a journal, you know, I need something about this size. So if they're separated by size, then it's a lot easier to find them. Now some of these I might take out of here because I wanted them to actually be able to lie down. And I want, yeah, I think I'll take some of these out. However, the other system that I have is the binder. And for some of the, I think they work better. It works better for the smaller pieces, but for bigger ones, they want to fall out because it's very slippery, so I'm always really careful turning the pages. But this is also a really good idea, and I found this idea from another crafter. And there's lots of pieces there that are easier. It's easier to divide them into colors and shapes and things like that. So there we go on that one. Now there's my bee, and this is just starting to smoke, so we'll blow on it a little bit, and I'm going to pour it right out. I feel like I need a spatula almost just to get all of it out of there. And I've only just tried using it with one little wax thing, so maybe the problem is that I need more. Also, I'm going to try this to get it a little bit more centered. Give it a good press. Let it cool for a moment. Yeah, I'm not using enough. That's key here to make it a nice big one. So there's about, yeah, I think I'll use 2 of these right now. And that way I can use up the wax that's in there, plus I can do a bee that's a little bit nicer. However, when I put it together with this, that's pretty nice. So I could easily do things like that. Now while this is busy, I'm going to cut this out. Let's use a different pair of scissors. I should have put my tree a little bit farther away from the other part, but that doesn't matter. So I'm going to take this, ordinarily I'd probably use a paper cutter to get really nice straight lines, but I don't have room on my table here, so I'm just going to eyeball it. So I'm going to take that. Now you can go around the edges with distressing ink or something like that, but I thought I would use these pens, and I'm going to use the little green tree on this one. No, I'm not. Should I use that one? That one. I don't think I'm going to use any of them right now. What did I do? I thought I did a heart. I did not do a heart, but there's a heart, and I think I will do that one. I'm going to do the bee again because I want that, and I think I'll make a heart as well. Okay, this is ready. And I'm going to lay down a little bit more. Let's try that. I mean, this is certainly usable because it doesn't have to be perfect, does it? Now, what I was going to say is I've got these metallic pens, and let's see, I think I might go with a gold one. And first we test the color, so I'll use one of these little watercolor scraps. That's almost a greeny gold. Wow, I like that. Okay, that's our choice. I think I want this to be a little narrower. Well, unless I put the B up here. Okay, I'm okay with that. So what I'm going to do is just go along the edge here like this. The roughness of the watercolor paper kind of gives it that vintagey look anyway. And this goldy green matches everything else. I think I want another color in here. Which one should I put in? This stuff's going to be cooking. I know. Do that one. So that gives it a nice edge. And these are just markers I found on Amazon. Just metallic color pen it's called. And then it has some other language that obviously I don't read. That'll be okay there. I would like to do another one of those. Oh, here's this. I think I like it down at the bottom better. I don't know. Needs a little bit more space almost, doesn't it? I like that one. So what we need for that is just a little bit of glue. Which, as I've mentioned before, I keep upside down because then I don't have to squish it down to make it work. So this one is going to go right in there. And there I have a little embellishment that I can use. This one, we're going to use, well, I did the bee, I'm going to make the heart. Use this one with the heart. So I've mixed a couple of colors, and we'll see how that turns out. That's very pretty. Like the electrical company is coming for a visit to our lines outside my house. Too bad they make so much noise. Okay, that feels like it needs to cool a little bit longer. My flame is little. Oh, here's a good looking guy walking across my yard. Oh well, if they're gonna come and disturb me, it helps if they're nice looking. All right. I'm going to cut this one as well. I like the decal edge on this. Let's feels like there's a lot in there, but I don't think I'll keep it. So let's just take that out of there, and then I'll put in a different color. Okay, let's see. Oh, look, that is so pretty. That is so pretty. Now I just want one for here, and I'm going to use what? That's the heart. That's the bee. Let's use a different one. It's another tree, rose, leaves. I'm going to do the crown, and I'm going to use, let's see, what would be a nice one here? A nice color for this. Not sure the crown is a great match, but I want to try it, so I know, let's use this color. It's kind of a bronzy brown. My flame is getting smaller and smaller, which I assume is going to take it a little bit longer. And now I'm going to change out this one. Of course, my neighbor's dog, she's got 2 little chihuahuas. They have to run out and give their 2 cents worth. Okay, there's that one. Now, my rose, I'm also going to cut this out. And as I mentioned before, I keep these little scraps to test things on. Watercolor paper is not inexpensive, so you don't want to waste it. Every time somebody comes along, those dogs run out and bark their faces off. Just trying to make this a little bit more uniformly square. Oh, sounds like he's moving on. Now for this one, I am going to use another metallic pen and go around the edge. And this one's a pink one. Well, it's kind of pinky, mauvey, plummy. And like I said, if you're not into doing your own drawing or doing anything in watercolor, that's okay. I mean, watercolor is a blast, so if you're just avoiding it for fear of you won't be able to work with it, they're fun. You know, it's hard to make mistakes. You just play with it till it feels right in your hands. That's all it takes. Okay, we've got some there, and I've got my crown. So is it ready? My flame is so tiny, it's hard to tell. I've got a big bubble here. I'm not sure if that's a problem. Anyway, let's give it a whirl. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to scrape it out using this stick so that more of it comes out rather than staying in the spoon. What a gorgeous color. Well, there goes the hydro, guys. I guess that was short and sweet. Now this crown is kind of this way, so I'm going to put it in like this. And then we'll see. Maybe I'm not pressing hard enough. I don't know. If you have any experience with these things, I would love to hear it, what you have to add. Now, on this one, I'm going to put my heart. This can go any direction, obviously. I wonder where's the best way to put what. I think down here, even though it covers up part of the leaf. Or up there. I like it down there. So I'm going to just glue this on. and I think I'll blow out my candle. So we're going to get smoke now, of course. Oh, that didn't last long. And I'm putting my little heart right down in the bottom corner here. Let it sit there. This one will be ready. Ah, still didn't make enough. Well, I'm going to have to actually put more sealing wax in it, evidently. So, should I use the bee or the crown? I love this color, but I think I'll use the bee or the tree. Actually, I like the tree. Let's use the tree. The great thing about experimenting is that it doesn't matter how it turns out. It's what you learn from it. So because I haven't used sealing wax in probably 100 years, this is a learning experience for me. And I had this idea of doing these. So now what I need to remind myself of is to leave a little bit more space. You know, think of it as part of the composition altogether. I'm going to put a little bit of edging on this. And I'm using this Tim Holtz oxide stuff because it's it'll bring out the browns. Don't need that there. I love this decal edge. I wish I could have it all the way around, but that can't happen because it's only ever on usually one edge. There. That makes a nice little vignette, doesn't it? Now you could add other things too. I mean, for something like this, I could add a bird. And over here I could add a bee. That's pretty cute. And in here I could add a little flower. With its own leaf. That kind of just balances out the whole little vignette. So that's what I have today for you and for me. And we've got some exciting things coming up. So please subscribe to my channel and click the little bell so you get the notifications. And I'll see you next time.